consciousness, and then try to help others also. It is a wonderful and blissful service, you know,
Amen. That's fantastic.
because if we don't help others get on the right track, and we don't, push the message of our spiritual teachers, the acharyas, especially Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we're not actually you know, doing anything.
That's right. That's right.
We have to, we have to not only practice, but we have to broadcast also, and then teach, then facilitate, and then get new people on board also.
That's right.
A lot of people, a lot of people in ISKCON especially are not presenting the truth as it is. So that is also a huge problem, because people are complaining they're not getting anywhere in their spiritual lives. So in this way, it is our responsibility to say, hey, you guys have a problem here, and it can be adjusted if you do it like this.
That's right.
If you follow the teachings, how Srila Prabhupada wanted things done. So this is one of the reasons why we talk about the direction of management, who can be a spiritual master, what is the qualifications of the spiritual master, why people are changing Srila Prabhupada's teachings to fit their so-called material needs. I mean, we can't change, we cannot change the constitution.
That's
So,
right.
these gurus, this fake initiators in ISKCON, they're changing the whole system. And our movement is not very old. Our movement is just started in 1966. Srila Prabhupada came in 1965, and then the movement started in 1966, and now we're in 2021. And a whole lot has changed. So if we don't fight the changes, or we don't have to fight it, we just have to inform the public that, hey, you guys are doing changes which are not authorized.
Right.
And this way the public will be, oh, yes, why are you doing this? Once they start questioning, then the flag goes up. We're like, oh, yeah, they're doing something which they should not be doing. And they're saying stuff that is against the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. So this raises a red flag. And then we point to the right direction. And we say, hey, if you guys do this, then the movement will come to a halt and everything will be spoiled. Prabhupada himself said that the movement cannot be spoiled by outsiders. The movement will only be spoiled from the inside out. So that's,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I mean, even the government, right? In America has a strong government, but if there's a coup internally, then the whole thing,
Exactly right.
so
That's right.
so in ISKCON, there's an internal coup going on between the gurus, the disciples, the various properties, different agendas of the different gurus, different philosophical understandings. So we're trying to bring it back, to the original standard of what Prabhupada wanted, how he wanted. And we're not only saying that, we're inviting people to come participate on the Zoom and debate us, or question us. Hey, well, why are you thinking like this? Which
Right.
obviously, if you go to an ISKCON temple and you question them and be like, hey, why are you guys doing like this? I have an understanding, this is how it's supposed to be done. What they'll do is they'll kick you out immediately. But here,
That's
immediately,
right.
yes. Here we can have a discussion. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's how it is. That's right.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Narayan Prabhu. We have Mahaprabhu Das.
All right. Haribol. I'm going to order some Chinese food. I'll be right back.
No problem. Order your Chinese food. So anyone watching this on Facebook and on YouTube, they're welcome to join us on Zoom. They can post questions on our YouTube chat or our Facebook Live posts. We're having a wonderful Ishtagoshti. This is a discussion. And then you can express your doubts, your concerns, anything you like, or if you have a problem with someone, on how they look, well, they're spirit souls. So all these things can be expressed in Ishtagoshti, and then we'll come to a philosophical understanding, a spiritual understanding, what Prabhupada has said, and then we'll come to a agreement, or if no agreement is reached, And then we continue the discussion until everyone is satisfied. Okay, so please join us on Facebook, on YouTube. Just send me a message and then we'll get you in Zoom. Zoom. All right. So let's send some messages to the devotees. All right, we're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. Okay. Srila Prabhupada says this Krishna consciousness movement is training people how to be independently thoughtful. So, and they're teaching how every living entity can take up this Krishna consciousness. Uh, Anyone from any background can become a devotee of Lord Krishna. Well, they're already a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But do they know it? So,
Hare Krishna.
yes, devotee of the Supreme Lord, which everyone of us are.
Rama Rama.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Yeah, it's wonderful how Srila Prabhupada chanted this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This wonderful chanting Srila Prabhupada chanted under a tree, and that's how the movement started in America, in Thompson Square Park, 1966.
And we are to chant 16 rounds a day? Is that the rule?
Yes, actually, it's not 16. We should always be chanting Hare Krishna, always remembering Krishna, never forgetting Krishna. That's the real chanting. If one is absorbed in real chanting, is never apart from remembering Krishna or chanting Hare Krishna, because his consciousness is merged in Krishna consciousness. So he has no other desire than to, you know, chant or remember Krishna,
So
or
we
remember his devotees.
we are praying consistently.
Yeah, we are. I mean, if you really look at it, sometimes we're praying to our boss, sometimes praying to our wife. We're always praying, but if we pray to Krishna, that's the real standard,
Chai. Hare
right?
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
We're always trying to please someone, right? Or we're trying to always serve someone.
That's right. Hare Krishna.
Right now, you're trying to serve your stomach with Chinese food.
That's right.
So in this way, we're living entities are looking for service. I mean, why people serve, their dogs, their cats,
That's right.
why they don't want to serve Krishna? Why not serve God? What do you think?
Remember, I heard
Huh?
a ding dong.
Yes. It is Rupa Manjari Prabhu is coming online.
Rupa Manjari. All right. Welcome.
Haribol, thank you.
Haribol, Haribol.
Hare Krishna. All right. We're getting devotees on. Mahaprabhu's there. Manjari Prabhu, me. Narayan should be on in a bit. All right. Okay. So what's going on, Rupa Manjari Prabhu? How's life treating you? How's Krishna treating you?
Pretty good, thanks.
Hare Hare.
Hi. Yes.
How about you? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm just doing some research on certain things. Me and Narayan Prabhu were having some intense discussions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Narayan Prabhu, you know him. Whenever he gets going, it's
Yeah.
either it's his way or the highway. So I'm trying to say, hey, you got to back everything up, or I'll say that I don't believe you.
Never tell him to shut up.
No, you can tell him.
Never ever.
Oh, yes. Mahaprabhu, I mean, you were right. He realized that sometimes he has to shut up. So he realized that, and he apologized for that. That was unique. So you said the right things, but he
All
realized
right.
that later. I mean, many times we realize things after we made the mistake,
Yeah.
or
Hare Krishna.
or we learned from it. So
Okay, I'm gonna order my Chinese food. I'll be right
okay,
back.
go ahead, do whatever you got to do. All right.
Did you talk to him tonight?
Huh? Oh, what?
Did you talk to him, to Narayan, tonight?
Yeah. He just called me, and I sent him the message of the Zoom link.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Krishna. Yeah, I mean, Narayan Prabhu's his approach on the Varnashram farm project is that he needs to write a book. I mean, what does he mean by this? Or let's wait for him to come on, because it seems like you write a book. I mean, Prabhupada has written the books and the how to do it, but
Well, that's the thing. Srila Prabhupada did talk about cow protection and farm communities,
yes,
but he was surprisingly non-specific about it.
yes,
To the point that it's kind of frustrated me, because it's like, okay, how do you do it? Like, how do you make it work
okay, yeah,
in the modern age where
right,
everything is in cities,
right,
everybody buys their food at the grocery store, and it's all meat diet based,
right.
so it's just like how to do it. And so that's kind of what I struggle with is
Ah,
yeah.
I mean, like if we study how things were done, I mean, maybe say we go back 75 years, of 60 years, or 70 years, we see people had small farms. They they grew their food. They had one or two cows. I mean, there was no Krishna consciousness, but I mean, to a large degree, they were living off the land. I mean, I remember I came to the United States in 1996 from Fiji, and back
how
in
how old were you?
I was in sixth grade, so I'm
Like
not sure.
12?
Yeah, probably 12. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I remember back in the 90s when we used to go to the villages. Our grandparents, they had cows. They had water coming from the mountains. No electricity. They had generators, but at night lights out. You know,
Mhm.
and then the TV came in, and the generators came in, and then everything kind of. So I saw that lifestyle growing up. Working on the having cows, and people. At least my family on my dad's side, and they were farmers, and they lived close to an ocean, like I don't know, 200-300 feet away. The ocean was there, so they did their fishing, and they did their what you call it, planting, and they had cows. So
Mhm.
they were actually living off the land, but they were not Krishna conscious. I mean, they were not following any regulated principles. While they were somewhat God conscious, because they used to celebrate Ramayan and Krishna Janmashtami and stuff during festival times, but no philosophy, Krishna conscious philosophy,
Mhm.
like the acharyas have, set
Mhm.
forth. So that's why I'm asking: do we really need all this research and development? I mean, uh, I mean, if we really look at it, 60, 70 years ago, people had cows, people had farms, but
Yeah.
there was no Krishna consciousness, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the
So
thing is that what Narayan wants to do is like have big projects, like with thousands of people. And I that
thousands of people. I mean, come on, let's be real. Thousands of people. Srila Prabhupada, one person started so many centers and temples, but not everyone took it up. So how can we expect thousands? Why not one, two, three? Why are
right.
we? You know what I'm saying? What is the argument for having thousands of people? Why not one person?
Right.
Like Prabhupada says, one moon, or
Right.
why are we trying to cater to the whole wide, you know, 10%? Prabhupada says, if they become Krishna conscious, I mean, 10% is not a lot.
Mhm. Well, in this day and age, 10% is a huge amount of the population. Like, because think of how
Yeah.
many devotees there are in the world. There's probably maybe 1 or 2 million at the most.
Yeah. So, yeah, right. In that context, it is a lot of, it's very nice 10%.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So that wide scale that he's talking about, I mean, it's a long shot, or at least, I mean, he's eternal. We know the soul is eternal, but then we want to do something now, immediately, in the next 10
Mhm.
years, right?
Mhm.
If we write a book,
Yeah.
it's I mean, so how to get that, like the emergency, it's still an emergency, right? Prabhupada,
What do you mean? What do you mean it's an emergency?
emergency meaning that Prabhupada gave the books. Now, if I mean, let's take it for Narayan Prabhu's case. He wants to write a book and implement the whole, wide scale, thousands of people, millions of people. You know, it seems like it's one sort of over endeavor. Doesn't it seem like it?
Well, it seems like it would be difficult to accomplish.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like for example, if we were to start a cow project, first of all, what do you need? You need land, you need cows, you need people, right? These things are needed.
And you need a source of fresh water,
Yeah, source of fresh water, exactly. Some housing, right, for the devotees.
housing.
Yeah,
You also need to have farmers that know how to farm the land utilizing cow
yeah,
dung and urine.
yes, all these
And
things,
you also need a stock of seeds.
right?
And you also need plows to
Yeah,
plow the field. You need to have people that know how to deal with cows and bulls and
right.
oxen.
Yeah, these experienced people, where at least we can learn from, right?
Yes, and you also need to have housing,
Yeah,
like and technology for that. Like using wood is very it's it uses trees. It means you have to cut down the trees and
yeah,
all that. But there's ways of like using adobe, for example, like mixed with straw, clay and straw mixed together.
right.
So you can make like huts.
Right. Yes.
And in India, in the rural parts, that's what they have is little circular huts.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think during my dad's time they had these types of facilities. Like they had a hut and made of straw and mud and things like that. So I kind of saw that in the villages, but when I grew up, it was tin and wood.
You
Some part.
were born in Fiji?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. So you were part of the Hindu community there.
Yeah. You can say that. I was not actually so. Actually, I was more of a you can say Western. I used to read a lot of pastimes from the book of Bible stories.
Mm-hmm.
I knew all the pastimes. Like when I was in sixth grade, fourth, fifth grade, I knew all the pastimes. Cain and Abel, all that.
Mm-hmm.
So because we went to English speaking school,
Mm-hmm.
they used to teach us from the Bible. And then as a child, we grew up. I grew up actually going to the church, Jehovah's Witness church, and they had
Oh.
wonderful pastimes of Jesus and Moses and all these great personnel, David and Goliath, Jonah's Ark. So I read all those. My parents used to read to me, and I used to read these pastimes. And
Oh,
then
very
we
nice.
used to have preachers come to the schools, and they
Mm-hmm.
used to question us about the Western philosophy. So I was like the first person to know all the pastimes, all the intricate things, and I used to get prizes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I mean, if I had the Krishna book when I was that age, I probably would have, you know. But anyways, it kind of, I took it up much later, Krishna consciousness. But it really shows that if the children are guided properly, they can they can certainly become good souls.
Yes, absolutely.
Andrew Ananda Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. How are you doing? How's everyone? Well,
Yes, we're just having a little discussion here. Yes, we're doing good, Prabhu.
wonderful.
Why is Narayan
We
Prabhu not
have
joining us?
here Mahaprabhu Das and Rupa Manjari.
Yes,
Hey,
yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Let's
Come
see.
join.
Do
Tomorrow's
you want to call him?
Yeah, let me call him. Yes, Andrew Ananda Prabhu tomorrow.
tomorrow's full moon Purnima.
Yeah, yes.
I was reading. I was somehow or other. I was surfing on, or I don't know. I don't really surf on Facebook that much these days. But I was kind of like scrolling. I don't know. I clicked on a few stories. I clicked on somebody's story, and then it went to the next and the next. And somebody was talking about some dream they had, and about astrology at the full moon in Scorpio. So I thought, let me go look in Vedic astrology and see what's to be said about this, how it is explained in terms of Vedic astrology. And so it said that the full moon is going to be in Swati. I believe that's Arcturus. But that
Taurus,
means
yes.
that the god, the demigod Vayu, he's the ruler of that star. And
Nakshatra,
so
nakshatra, or whatever you call it.
yes, Swati Nakshatra. That's the
Yeah.
right. That's how I was explaining it.
Yes.
He's saying that there's going to be a lot have to do with prana and how we hold air in the body, or the way we breathe, if it's consistent, or if we're holding it, or if we're not, if we're like very lacking in our breathing power, that we should be more conscious of our breath, because it's going to affect our consciousness a lot, and because of its association with the air element.
Acha.
So I thought that was interesting, and it seemed like this could be like a new way to practice bhakti. I understand that bhakti is like in itself it's science, but that I also understand that other Vedic sciences, can be used in conjunction with bhakti, such as Ayurveda and as well as like Ashtanga yoga, like that. But
Acha. Yeah, it seems like what I have read, it's an auspicious time, for
right, very
change and spiritual development, change of consciousness, or
Yeah.
upliftment of
Mhm.
consciousness. It's one of those times. I think.
I think that's what one of the points they were touching on. Yes.
Yeah, it's auspicious time, it seems. Or we'll see. It starts tomorrow, 26th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Jai. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it and seeing, how things develop.
Yeah.
Narayan Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Is he there? Yes, he is there. But he's muted. Okay. So anything else you'd like to share, Andrew Prabhu?
I don't know. I just kind of thought I would
Oh, okay. Jai.
express that, and I just thought it was interesting, so I shared.
Jai. Oh, yes. And I have your books boxed up to go. So once I boxed it up, Friday, Saturday night or something. So
Okay.
it could be out Monday
Wonderful.
or Tuesday. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Ananda Dev.
Haribol.
Haribol.
How are you doing, Mahaprabhu?
Okay, hanging in there. Taking
Hang
it
in,
day
hang
by
in.
day.
Jai.
Bye. Hare
So,
Krishna.
What's happening tomorrow?
Oh, tomorrow. It seems a auspicious new moon tomorrow.
It's
Oh.
full moon.
Full moon, yes. Full moon. And
Very nice.
so
Supposed to be in the
Swati
And
Nakshatra.
yeah, the sign of Vayu have
Yeah.
to do with prana, air in the body, and then like new have to do
Yes.
enough self-reflection to try to determine the
Yes.
best way to go about.
It's saying full moon in Libra and Swati Nakshatra. The full moon on Monday, April 26th, will be in the Libra and Swati Nakshatra. Libra is the sign of balance, and the Nakshatra Swati is powerful for communications and negotiations.
Great.
So what's the relationship between Krishna and astronomy or astrology?
Well, all of the signs in astrology are ruled by different demigods, and Krishna is the administrator of all of those demigods. And he is basically the, I guess you could call him emperor. He's the father of everybody, and all of the demigods are his administrators.
Each demigod is assigned a certain planet or a star, or how does that work?
Exactly. A certain sign, star like that.
Star or planet.
Right.
Okay.
Like the sun, moon, Mercury, Mars.
Yes.
Saturn.
Celestial
So
bodies.
there's a ton of demigods.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right. 300 million.
There are many planets loaded with demigods.
Wow.
And they're not all in the physical
Christianity
realm.
It says about dying and going to heaven, but we know from the Vedas that heaven that the Christians refer to is called the planet of the avatars, called Swargaloka. And so the Christians, if they are vegetarian, austere vegetarian followers of Jesus and Hillel, they will go to Swargaloka when they die. But it's still in the material universe, and it's still destroyed at the end of the universe's destruction.
One
we have 8 people watching on YouTube. So if you like to participate in this Ishtagoshti discussion, you can kindly send a message on
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
We can let you in immediately. You can ask your questions, anything, discussion, questions, whatever you like. And go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh yes, I was just thinking about. I heard a devotee. I guess he came out of somehow or other he was related to the Gaudiya Math, or maybe I'm trying to figure out who he was a disciple of. But he's like teaching like Srimad Bhagavatam, and his name is Satya Narayan Das Babaji, something like that.
All right.
And he is talking about how the difference between the term heaven and Swargaloka. He said that the concept of heaven and Swargaloka are different in that Swargaloka is all of these planets, they're all temporary assignments. They're temporary abodes that we live in. And we run our karma out of somehow or other, whereas heaven is supposed to be an eternal place. So there's not exactly an English equivalent of the way that Christians present it,
Yes.
I'm only going by what Srila Prabhupada said.
Yeah.
He said that Jesus came from Swargaloka, and that
I always wondered
if they are vegetarian, austere, poverty-vowed Christians, go to Swargaloka, and that when the universe fills halfway with water during the flood that we are aware of, where the seven sages took boat with all the jivas. They didn't take them on 2 by 2 the way it looks like Noah's Ark, which seems physically impossible. What they did was they took them all in. One of the sages carried all the jivas in a bag, in a bag. And you might say, well, how did they do that? Well, they only took the seed form, meaning the DNA of the different species in the bag. So when the Matsya, the Kurma pulled the ark, the Noah's Ark sort of thing that the sages had, and the Vasuki, I believe, was the rope that held the ark to Kurma, and then they pulled through the ocean. But they say that when the people go to Svargaloka, they're happy there because it's one of the highest, it's right near the suburbs of Brahmaloka. So the Christians and whoever else is up there on Svargaloka are quite happy there until the flood fills the universe half up with water, in which case they begin to panic, and some of them turn to trying to worship Krishna in order to get out of the universe altogether.
Interesting. Very interesting.
But there's nothing about the Bible that is not derivative. For instance, the book of Genesis is derived from the Brahma Samhita, which fully describes the process of the creation. But in the Genesis, it just says, and God created the earth, or something of that sort. Not taking into account where did the universe come from that the earth was in, and where was God when he did it, all that stuff is completely unknown to the Judeo-Christian Abrahamic religions. So if you studied the Brahma Samhita and the book of Genesis, you'll see it doesn't even say that God created earth. He said the Creator created. And that's Creator is not mentioned everywhere. Everyone says God. Then the Creator, that means Brahma. So it's based on tradition, ignorance, habit, all sorts of things except transcendental knowledge.
Okay, so anything else before we get to the document that we were reading, or anyone? Okay, let me load up the document then. 1 second. Where is it?
Yeah, I was hoping that Shreya would be reading it.
She's not here, so.
So how many people are on board right now?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, including all of us here. 5 people. Mahaprabhu, Rupa Manjari, Narayan, and Andrew Anandaprabhu.
Oh, good. Well, Rupa Manjari can read it then.
Yes.
That'll be great.
Okay. 1 second. Let me start it one more time. 1 second. To broadcast because I want that whatever we talked to be on this point on this discussion here. This document here is right. This one. Okay. There we go. We'll load it up.
So that whole part about the Svargaloka was not broadcast?
Oh, that was recorded, but this is a new session, meaning that has been
okay.
recorded and archived.
That's
So
good because people are so easily confused by trying to equate. Well, there's even somebody painted a picture, I might say a very lovely picture, completely bogus picture of Krishna and Jesus holding hands running through the fields of Krishna Loka. Have you seen that picture?
All the sahajas are out there.
Yeah. So it was somebody in ISKCON, obviously. Somebody was an ISKCON painter that painted it. And it's just shocking because there's no indication that Jesus has anything to do with Krishna Loka. Even Vishnu has nothing to do with Krishna Loka. Even Lord Ramachandra has nothing to do with Krishna Loka because he's an expansion of Vasudeva.
Yeah, I mean, during...
What about Vaikuntha in general?
Vaikuntha? What about Jesus in Vaikuntha?
not that he's there. Actually,
I
there's so
mean,
many Vaikuntha planets.
Only Vishnu, and this is a thing we've been struggling with for some time, but you'll find out in the long run that only Vishnu is on Vishnu planets. Now, if people,
What about
Vishnu is capable of unlimited expansions, and there are unlimited universes. So you can imagine that the four Vishnus, particularly Vasudev, must expand hundreds of millions of forms to do specific pastimes within these endless supply of universes. It's not that planet Earth is the only planet that gets Lord Ramachandra or someone like that. So these are all very specific pastimes, and they expand to do those pastimes, then they come back into their planet when those pastimes are over.
right? Okay.
yes. You have a specific question? Go ahead. Or you want to share your
I
realization?
was thinking of it, but
Go ahead. You can,
oh well, I was just gonna say that I forget where I read, but someone was theorizing that actually Jesus Christ was, I should say, Yeshua was a used to be in a past life he was a rishi, and that he, in order, because he took birth in the land of Mlechas because to try and reestablish this this higher consciousness, and that's why he went to India and learned from all these different masters, then came back and did what he did.
you heard it from a bona fide source? Or
No, I don't
Prabhupada
know. That's why I said I forget where.
Where did Srila Prabhupada write that?
Well, this is.
Oh, okay.
There's no. I mean, I know there's no text that connects any of this. This is all what basically we know. What we know is what Srila Prabhupada says, and
Yes.
what other learned people might speculate.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I don't mean to say, hey,
you
like
want,
this.
You want speculation? I'll keep you going for 20 hours with nonstop speculation.
Yeah.
But it won't make it true. It will not make it true.
My point was that even there's so many sages that they probably they're in higher planets, right? That's what I mean. They're not. A lot of sages are living in higher planets.
Okay.
They're not going to Krishna Loka. So
Right.
because they haven't reestablished this Krishna conscious process, so they're really just very elevated souls, and that's all I mean to say.
Prabhupada did is deliver the sound vibration, exact sound vibration coming from the lips of Lord Chaitanya. That's all Prabhupada did. Everything else is just extras, like the scriptures, etc. What is the scriptures for? Prabhupada said the only reason I've written so many books is so that people will chant Hare Krishna. If you take it down to the bare bones, if you have a choice between chanting Hare Krishna and all of Prabhupada's books, chant Hare Krishna, because that's what the books tell you to do. And this is coming from Lord Chaitanya. So all this other stuff is just like a net used to throw in the ocean to bring in so many acres of water with a few fish. So we're the fish. We're being pulled in by the net. As far as Jesus is concerned, you know about the Dasa avatars, Prabhu? Dasa avatar?
Dasa avatar?
Dasa avatar. Yeah, there's 10 named incarnations of Krishna, ending in Kalki, and there's Parsuram, etc. Buddha is one of the Dasa avatars. He's one of the 10 avatars. But Buddha is a jiva. He was not a he was a pure devotee, but he's not, a incarnation of Krishna, but he's considered an incarnation because his teaching came to stop the misuse of Hinduism in slaughtering animals. And then he was the slaughtering of animals stopped by Buddha. Then there was the return to Vedic study. Jnana started by, started by in
Kapila.
Benares.
Kapila.
What?
Kapila?
What?
Kapila? Shankaracharya.
Who?
Shankaracharya.
Sukracharya, exactly.
Oh,
And then
Shankaracharya.
after that came Lord Chaitanya, who went to Benares to the followers of Sukracharya. Sukracharya, is that Sukracharya?
Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya.
Shankaracharya.
Yeah, that's what it
Shankaracharya.
is. Yes.
Yeah. So Shankaracharya started being Shankara because he's Vishnu, he's Shiva.
Yes.
Shankar means Shiva. So Shankaracharya means Shiva as Acharya. So Lord Chaitanya went there and defeated all of the followers, the main two branches of the followers of Shankaracharya, and then reestablished the transcendental platform by which, chanting Hare Krishna, we can deliver the world. We can and shall deliver every jiva until the end of this 10,000-year time emerging from Lord Chaitanya, with the sound vibration coming from Lord Chaitanya's lips, transcendental lips, through the sampradaya that is not added or subtracted to the sound vibration of Lord Chaitanya's chanting of the holy name of Krishna. So that's what we're up to. And as far as Jesus is concerned, he's not mentioned in Shastras. And it's said that he went to
What about the Puranas?
India. What?
There's been account of that he appeared in the Puranas as there was a figure. He was a personality that appeared. He was dressed in all white and had these golden robes. I kind of maybe I'll send the presentation. It's in like a YouTube video, but it quotes
saying that was just stated by Prabhupada?
No, it was this is basically a translation that was in one of the Puranas, and it described
we can't accept anything unless it's coming by Guru Parampara, right? Well, how can we? And moreover, why should we? What are we going to get from it?
All I mean to say is that
Christianity, the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, are responsible for the greatest genocides that have ever taken place on planet Earth.
Right. I don't believe
that Jesus is the Acharya, if you will, of genocide.
Jesus is that's like saying that Prabhupada is the Acharya of the child abuse. It's not.
That's a good point. But I will say that so how do you explain the fact that all the Native Americans were killed on the order of the Christian
because
theologians?
All of these bodily conscious individuals from they had this imperialistic consciousness to conquer, oppress, and just take whatever spoils they can.
I accept your conclusion. It's well stated. But then, if I could ask, what is the benefit that Jesus brought? What did he bring that was of benefit to humanity?
I think he planted some seed of Vedanta in the Malaysia societies. I believe that he planted a seed of Vedanta in the Malaysia society.
Okay, where is that seed?
If you look at his
teachings, can you reveal that seed of Vedanta that he planted?
Well, because when I looked at all the different concepts that were being taught in the Bible, I would start, I would be reading these Christian books, and then I would start assigning Sanskrit words to each of these concepts. And I'm like, wait, these are all yogic concepts. hold on a minute. You know what I mean? I started making all these connections, and then I watched this video that talks about
No, when you say the
hidden
Bible,
teachings
are you
of
talking
Jesus.
Old Testament or the New Testament or some other testament?
The Bible?
Yeah, when you refer to the Bible, are you talking about the Old Testament or the New
Oh,
Testament?
it would be the New Testament.
Okay, the New Testament. Okay, now in the New Testament, are you referring to the Gospels of Jesus?
Well, I'll just say that you know those Christian self-help books that they distribute in jails?
It's been too long since I've been in a jail. I was there. I was
Well,
there
they distribute.
for chanting Hare Krishna in the streets in 1968 and 9. But aside from that, I have not spent much time behind bars.
But you went to jail for what?
For
What was that?
Sankirtan.
Are you serious? Where was
Yes,
that
in
at?
Los Angeles. We were downtown, and the police said we can chant as long as our toe doesn't cross over the crack in the sidewalk. And somebody's toe crossed over the crack in the sidewalk. You mean, the line that goes up, between the squares on the sidewalk. And they called paddy wagons and put us in jail for a day.
Dang. What the heck? Well, I was just my point is that like they distribute Christian literature, like that's the and if you basically if you're asked for other resources, other religious resources, they
No, I'm
generally
just
will not
wondering
they generally won't give it to you.
What about the teachings of Jesus do you consider have a divine origin?
Oh, I mean like they're yogic concepts. I guess I would have to go and get the book that I was
Where
reading.
will I look in the Bible for yogic concepts, should I say?
Well,
Do I look under yoga? I mean, there's been a
the
lot of
teachings
study
of
of Bible
Jesus.
study. Should I go and look? Is there a section that deals with yogic concepts in the Bible?
Everything that Jesus taught is a yogic concept.
Well, did you know that whatever he taught, he got from his guru?
Yes, that is what I mean. He went to the East and acquired all this
His
information.
guru was there and taught the identical teachings to Jesus. His name was Hillel. Have you heard of Hillel?
No, not specifically. No, but
No, but if you check the teachings of Hillel, you can do it on your computer. Go to your computer, check the teachings of Hillel, the Gospels and the teachings of Hillel. Check the teachings of Jesus. You'll find that Jesus was identical to Hillel. Like the golden rule, for instance, Jesus said, do unto others what you would have them do unto you. What Hillel said is, do not do unto others that which you would not have them do unto you. That's the major difference between the Gospels of Hillel and the Gospels of Jesus.
I see.
As far as Jesus going to foreign lands, we know he disappeared, but where in the Bible does it describe who he talked to in those foreign lands?
That's the thing. There's like 20 years of his life that are not accounted for in the Bible.
So where was he?
Exactly. There's a lot of accounts of a similar personality crossing through different monasteries and ashrams throughout India.
Yeah, and they even say that he rose from the dead and lived painfully all the way to Kashmir and is buried in Kashmir, and that Mother Mary is buried halfway to Kashmir. And there's word the Tibetan in Tibet they have scriptures describing Jesus coming that direction and going to Kashmir.
Right. So I think.
But I have never seen anything about Jesus going to India. Now, as far as going to India, his twin, Thomas, Thomas means in Aramaic means twin. So St. Thomas or Thomas went to India. Jesus actually one account says he sold him into slavery to an Indian who took him to South India because he wanted Thomas to preach in South India and do healing. He was called a Thomas, which means twin, because he and Jesus both healed people and raised them from the dead and stuff like that.
There's a book written by I forget, I don't know who it is. It's been a while since I've seen it. It's called The Lost Years of Jesus, something like it talks about how they document these accounts, various accounts of this personality.
Is this after or before the crucifixion?
Before the crucifixion. They say also that some people believe that he survived the crucifixion. Sort of like Haridas Thakur survived all of those beatings.
Exactly. And that he actually
should have died, but he
left
didn't.
his tomb and walked painfully all the way to Kashmir.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, because remember, the person that was Thomas of Arthamia was the person that provided his tomb and his shroud for Jesus. And then I'm trying to remember the name of the centurion that pierced his side with a spear. He became a bishop in the church.
Oh.
And there wasn't anybody around at the crucifixion. Nobody dared show up. Just
Really?
Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, but that's about it, Nobody showed up. They were all scared to show up because they thought they'd get killed too. So who knows what happened at the crucifixion? No witnesses, really.
It's unfortunately it's unbroken. It's a broken chain of succession. So we're likely not really be able to get the exact truth. We can only try and hypothesize.
What about the council held by Constantine, where everything that he didn't like was kicked out, and any of the bishops that said things he didn't like were killed? Council of Nicaea.
The Council of Nicaea?
The Council of Nicaea, they consolidated the scripture into one clump, more or less, because the Coptic Christianity, there are 5 popes, and the Roman Pope was one of them, Egyptian Pope, the Greek Orthodox, the Russian Pope, and also a Pope in Syria or something of that sort, in that area.
Okay, can we bring it back to home base?
Yes, sure. Please forgive the tangent there, but it's kind of somewhat. I'm sort of geeked out there.
It's okay. No problem. This is Ishtagoshti. Haribol. This is not ISKCON class.
True enough.
All right, so we're gonna start here. Okay. Who remembers where we were?
I think we were right underneath that paragraph that ends in the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay.
I think
right here. Okay, right underneath. Okay.
So it starts with "We invite everyone."
Okay, yeah. All right, let me move this. Can you see it, Rupa Manjari Prabhu? Is it all
yes.
right? Okay. Okay, I think okay, go ahead, please.
We invite everyone who is feeling the pinch of today's gross exploitation and tormenting of the people of this world, which means everyone, to join together to create the court of public opinion, to bring Srila Prabhupada's movement back to its original purpose of being the house built by Srila Prabhupada in which the whole world can live. How can we settle for less? Your eternal servants, Rupamanjari Devi Dasi, Narnarayan Dasi, Shri Karma.
All right. Jaya, we read the whole document? 10 pages.
Yes.
Huh? Okay, we're on page 10. Okay. Wow.
What was the title of this document?
Right here.
I remember sitting through a good portion of it.
The GBC was the enemy of Srila Prabhupada from 1970 until today. Okay.
That puts it in a nutshell. But now after that, we have more documents.
Yes, we're going to go over that. Okay,
Direction of management.
right. Okay, Narayan Prabhu, you're the legal guy here. So can you read it? Or
I can if you wish, but am I the best person to read it? Why not some?
You're a paralegal.
If you want, I can read it, but you can also read. What do you think?
No, I think you should read. Or
Okay.
Manjari Prabhu can read. Huh? Okay,
Well,
go
I
ahead.
can try. I can try.
Yes, please.
Direction of management. I, the undersigned, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, disciple of Om Vishnupad Paramahansa 1083 Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada, came to the United States in 1965, September 18th. For the purpose of starting Krishna consciousness movement. For 1 year, I had no shelter. I was traveling in many parts of this country. Then in 1966, July, can we move up a bit? 1966, July, I incorporated the society under the name and style, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, briefly ISKCON. The lawyer was Mr. J. Goldsmith. Gradually, the society increased, and one after another branches were opened. Now we've got 34 branches enlisted herewith.
Wow. So in 1970, Srila Prabhupada had 34 branches. All right.
Which is amazing, because when I was initiated in 1968, we only had maybe 7.
Oh, wow.
It was very easy to open a temple. You just joined the movement, took initiation. After 6 months, you took your Brahmin initiation. By then, you knew how to do puja. You knew how to play harmonium. You knew how to chant Prabhupada's melodies. You know how to play Prabhupada's Pradanga beats and Prabhupada's kartals. You know how to dance the Swami step. And then you're fully armed and dangerous and could go out and open a temple and involve those who did not know yet about that. Okay.
Wow.
So can we get back to where we were?
Yes. So we saw the 34 temples. I'm scrolling down. So
Okay.
now we're starting again at line 22.
Okay. As we have increased our volume of activities, now I think a governing body commission, hereafter referred to as the GBC, should be established. I'm getting old, 75 years old. Therefore, at any time I may be out of the scene. Therefore, I think it is necessary to give instruction to my disciples how they shall manage the whole institution. They are already managing individual centers represented by one president, one secretary, and one treasurer. And in my opinion, they're doing nice. But we want still more improvement in the standard of temple management propaganda for Krishna consciousness.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Some parts are missing here. Yeah, we can see here. On
Are they actually missing?
Yeah.
I don't think they're missing.
Right here. See where the arrow is?
You know, they weren't missing in the original document.
Yeah, it looks like it got cut off, or maybe someone didn't scan it properly. If this was scanned over, yes.
Well, I know. I forwarded it to you. I think, didn't I?
No, yeah. You see this part, line 31 up here, and then it goes to 32. Then it goes, it goes to what? What is this? 1, 2. So I guess it's missing, yes. But anyways, we can continue reading. Or should I find a facsimile?
Why not find a facsimile? Is it hard to find?
Let me see if I can find it. Yes.
It's all pretty vital stuff.
Yeah. 1 second. Let me find it. It was cut off. Yes, the scan was cut off. So let me find it. Legal documents, direction of management. Okay, I found it. This is not a facsimile, but this is from the Bhaktivedanta archives, so it should be all right. Okay, yeah. Let's get things going. All right, share screen. All right, here it is. We're reading this part. Okay.
Okay.
They are already managing individual centers represent. Okay, yes. You see it, Narayan Prabhu?
They're doing this, yes. But we want all the improvements and the standard of temple management, propaganda for Krishna consciousness, distribution of books, literatures, opening of new centers, and educating devotees to the right standard. Therefore, I have decided to adopt the following principles, and here's Krishna speaking through his representative, and I hope my beloved disciples will kindly accept them.
Bing bong. Kindly
Yeah.
accept them.
Yeah.
And-
So remember, the spiritual master is the external representative of Krishna. So when Prabhupada said, I hope my beloved son will kindly accept them, this is Krishna speaking through Prabhupada.
Mm,
Now, people want to be devotees of Krishna without Prabhupada. Good luck.
good luck, right?
There was a meeting in San Francisco during Rath Yatra Festival in 1970, and many presidents of the centers were present. You see, that was a big festival. I put on that festival, and that's the one where 40,000, 50,000 people showed up for that festival. And a lot of devotees did too. It became quite a mela. You know, usually there weren't that many people, just small festival, just, you know, the local devotees. But this one, a lot of people came from all over the world because it was getting bigger and bigger.
Right.
So even the devotees wanted to see 30, 50,000 devotees. So there was a meeting in San Francisco during Rath Yatra Festival, and many presidents of the centers were present. In that meeting, it was resolved that an ad hoc committee be set up from the constituents, from the Constitution, which is taken into consideration. My duty was to first appoint 12 persons of my free choice amongst my disciples, and I do it now, and their names are as follows.
Wow.
Sriman Rupanuga Das Adhikari, he was the one that showed me the DOM in Vrindavan a few months later.
Acha.
Sriman Bhagavan Das Adhikari, I trained him up in in Detroit and taught him everything about Sankirtan, how to get classes, everything. Sriman Shamasundar Das Adhikari, he carved the deities in San Francisco, and even before I became a devotee, he was had gone to Seattle to do a workshop, to build somebody's store. He was a carpenter, and I met him briefly in the streets of Seattle. Sriman Satsvarup Das Adhikari, who I met in Boston. Sriman Karandar Das Adhikari, who was in charge of the Los Angeles temple. Sriman Hansaduda Das Adhikari, who worked with me side by side to open the Berkeley temple. Sriman Sudama Das Adhikari, he got initiated the same day I did because I talked him into having his hair shaved. He had an afro that was so big it touched the door on all sides when he stood in the doorway, Victoria doorway.
You forgot Tamal Krishna Das Adhikari.
Oh, I thought I said Sudama. Oh, I missed Tamal. Oh yeah, Tamal Krishna Das Adhikari. He is my Bhartna Pradakshina Guru. He brought me to Krishna consciousness and convinced me that Krishna is God. And it's from that point onward that I became convinced, even though I had been a Mayavadi by nature. Before that, he convinced me that Krishna was God. And shortly after that, I and my brother, Matkalla, later Bhaktivinoda Govinda Goswami, joined the temple there, or moved into the temple, I should say. Okay, so Siddhama. Bhagavatam Das Brahmachari. I met him in New York in 1968. Jagadish Das Adhikari. I knew him from Detroit. He was just a new devotee at that time.
Is he the same Jagdish that was the temple president of the schools? Yeah. I think,
Yes.
right? Okay. Yes.
Yes. Jagadish. So I knew him. He and Lakshmi Moni got married, and Bhagavan had me in their bedroom, which was a huge double bed, very opulent. Lakshmi Moni was incredibly frustrated because on her wedding night, she was not allowed to consummate her wedding. And Bhagavan wanted me to explain to Jagadish why he couldn't have sex with his wife on her wedding night. Anyhow, the rest is history. Okay, who do we have? Jagadish, Hayagriva. Hayagriva Dasadikari. I met Hayagriva in Vrindavan. And again, I met him in 1969 in Los Angeles when he brought the stolen Bhagavad Gita as it is to Prabhupada so Prabhupada could publish it with Macmillan Publishing Company. And then Sriman Krishnadas Adhikari, I met him briefly when he is Saradia's brother, yes. And he later on, right then, and when I joined in 1968, he immediately went to Germany and opened a temple there in, I think, Frankfurt. And Saradia remained behind. Later on, went to Boston and married Vaikuntanath, my dear godbrother. Okay, these personalities are now considered as my direct representatives. While I am living, they will act as my zonal secretaries, and after my demise, they will be known as executors. I have already awarded sannyas, or the renounced order of life, to some of my students. They have also got very important duties to perform in this connection. The sannyasis will travel to our different centers for preaching purpose, as well as enlightening the members of the center for spiritual advancement. The sannyasis will suggest for opening new centers in suitable places, and the GBC will take action upon it. You see, this is the early days. And one of the things, of course, is that Prabhupada was trying to get Kirtanananda to do something other than become the Lord and Master of New Vrindavan. So he wanted him to travel and preach, which clearly did not want to do.
He wanted to be the big dog.
Yeah. So
I gotta hand it to him. He's a really big he was really good at fooling people, just deceiving people. He had a high propensity to be able to just.
Well, he was Kirtanananda. Did you say Kirtanananda? Yeah, yes. Even when I was living there, on 3 occasions I lived in Vrindavan briefly, and I like to say that Kirtananda is a combination of the most exquisite honey and the most foul stool swirled together.
Golly.
You want to get the honey, because the honey that he had was so absolutely extraordinarily delicious. But how do you separate from the stool of his horrible activities and way of life?
Oh, goodness. He did say a lot of nice things about Prabhupada and the movement, but his actions didn't quite line up with that.
Yes.
Well, he said nice things, like he built a palace for Prabhupada and put Prabhupada's murti there and put a crown on his head. So naturally his disciples insisted on putting a crown on Kirtananda's head, which is no doubt the motive that he had in creating great glorification of Prabhupada was to create his own glory.
He had ulterior motives.
Well, yeah, he was
He
a
really-
yogi. You know, he had incredibly good at doing things. I saw him take Satsvarup and shred him to pieces once in a conversation. Satsvarup was no match for him at all. He was a yogi, you know. Remember, anybody that came into the movement early and was active was a previous life devotee, and Prabhupada simply harvested these people to begin the movement with in their new births as hippies.
One question is, why isn't Kirtanananda mentioned in this list?
Because he is mentioned as a sannyasi to travel and preach.
Oh, acha. Yes.
You see, he says the GBC, well, the sannyasi will travel and come up with ideas for temples could be. In other words, a sannyasi doesn't just go from Vyasasan to Vyasasan in different temples. The sannyasi travels here, there, and everywhere. That's called Parabrajacharya.
Yeah.
He goes here, there, and everywhere, preaching the glories of the Lord, which is what we all initiated disciples of Prabhupada are meant to do day and night. Without regard for where we sleep or what we do, we just travel here, there, and everywhere preaching. That's what we should be doing. That's what the followers of Chaitanya, meaning us, shall do for the next 10,000 years.
We're traveling on Zoom.
Yes, exactly. Well, we're doing that right now on Zoom. Exactly. Thank you. And so the sannyasis will travel to different centers. As far as I know, Kirtanananda was the only sannyasi at that time.
1970, yeah.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Just after that,
Tamal.
No, Tamal didn't become sannyasi until after he was married for years.
72, Tamal became sannyasi?
No, the person that got right after that, the four sannyasis became sannyasis.
Oh, yes.
Ramananda, Gargamuni, Vishnujan, and Subal. Yeah, they all became sannyasis, but Prabhupada hadn't made them sannyasis yet. He made them sannyasis in Los Angeles when they started their Prabhupada is God thing.
Right.
I'm not quite sure when they got into that, but I was up in Berkeley with Dina Dayadri, my first Krishna conscious wife, and I had heard Vishnu John chanting, playing harmonium while Prabhupada was chanting, and I, sort of, shall we say, intuitive. What else would you like to call it? Psychic? You can call it whatever you like. But I sat there listening, and I'm a trained musician and a philosopher, English literature graduate. I have a degree in it. So I'm aware of systems and mechanisms and structure. So what happened is that I heard Vishnu John, and I'm a musician, I played 15 instruments at one time. Vishnu John was playing harmonium, and I screamed out as he was playing, because they sent tapes around to the different centers, so that when Prabhupada was there, they'd make a tape, make 30-some, as many copies as there were temples, immediately send them out by rush mail, so that practically the next day you had a Prabhupada's lecture live, and on tape live, but recent lecture, and the music, the kirtans. And I screamed out there, Vishnu John is in Maya, I screamed, because I heard his harmonium playing. And it was crowding Prabhupada, and it reminded me, my visual psychic impression was, it looked like the crown of thorns on Jesus' head, his harmonium playing. He was trying to destroy Prabhupada with his harmonium music. Why? I knew Vishnu John for years. We had a group that was trying to compete with the one in London, and Vishnu John and I were in charge of it. I mean, he and I worked together. We were Sankirtan leaders together. Why would I suddenly scream that he was in Maya? But I had no information to that effect. Anyhow, Bahalasva, who was the temple president, wasn't about to let Vishnu John be described as being in Maya. So he quickly told me to pack my bags. I was going to rebuild his whole temple there. Tina Dagri and I were going to completely do his whole temple. She was an expert seamstress, and I was going to be thrown, and he threw me out in the street. Fortunately, Dina Dagri's parents were coming into town that very day, picked us up from the street, and drove us to Los Angeles. And when we came to Los Angeles, there was that ceremony where we would give Prabhupada flowers, and then we would sit kneeling in a row, and Prabhupada would pass by going to the back door to his quarters, and he would hand a flower to everybody. And he looked at me, and I heard his voice saying, "Thank God you've come." That's the words I heard. I don't know if he said it or not, but that's what I heard. Just like I heard the other quote, voice from the sky type of voice saying, "I could have done so much more." Mahabharat, Ramayana, you know. But anyhow, he said, "Thank God you've come." And I looked up at him in complete astonishment. And he quickly turned away, realizing I didn't know what was going on. But I did know what was going on in the sense that I had explained to Vishnu Janmasamaya. Shortly after that, it turned out the four sannyasis were busy, had kept Prabhupada as a prisoner in his room for weeks.
Oh, I heard this story, but then I forgot where I heard it. So can you please continue?
Yeah. So they had Prabhupada in his room for at least 2 or 3 weeks, and after Rath Yatra. Apparently, that's when they heard this whole thing from the Brahmabhuta through Chutananda's mouth, through the telephone into Brahmananda's ear, that Prabhupada was God. And they started preaching this and made Prabhupada a prisoner, wouldn't let him have his mail, wouldn't let him open his mail.
Oh.
Gargamuni made a rule that any brahmachari, any male devotee could slap any female devotee that was disobedient. I mean, it was pretty tough times in those days. And so this is when Prabhupada was in his room. But they didn't just lock it. He didn't just lock it. They sort of like kept him there, didn't let him out. He went on morning walks and stuff like that. But nobody knew how sequestered he was, how nobody was allowed to come to see him. But Dina Dadra and I went up and saw him. And we had been, before Rath Yatra, we had been in Washington, D.C. And she had gotten sick because the heat was unbelievable there, and her legs had swollen up like balloons. And she was in the emergency ward, and they gave her some medication to reduce the swelling. She was chanting japa on a park bench, and some reporter came by and asked her about Krishna consciousness. And she gave an incredibly good story about Krishna consciousness that he published verbatim. And they sent that to Srila Prabhupada. Now, after Rath Yatra, George Harrison had given $19,000 to print the Krishna book originally. And you all know that story about how Shamasundar went to George Harrison to ask for the money. And George Harrison was very upset by that because he thought, oh, now you're just another one of those people going to the Beatles to get money, you know. So Shamasundar, Prabhupada asked Shamasundar to ask him for it. And he went there realizing that might destroy the relationship with the Beatles, but he couldn't not ask. He couldn't go to Prabhupada and say, I didn't ask. So he asked, and George Harrison was very proud, and he said, I'll think about it, he said, very irritated sounding. And at that point, the lights went out in his whole mansion, huge mansion he had up in the countryside. The lights went out for some time, like maybe 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. When the lights came back on, George Harrison looked at Shamasundar sort of sheepishly and said, well, I think I should take that as a sign. And he wrote out a check for $19,000, which back then was a good chunk of money. It was more like probably $60,000, $80,000. So anyhow, so I'm saying that to be able to finish the story, that Dina Dayadri and I were into Prabhupada's quarters, not even, just the two of us, not even suspecting he was being held prisoner. That we were let in because I was Narayana and she was Dina Dayadri, and they couldn't keep us out, and we didn't know what was going on anyhow about the Prabhupada's God thing, but nobody else could go in. So we went in all by ourselves. Usually Prabhupada was surrounded by quite a few devotees. Prabhupada, completely unflappable, didn't make any issue out of it. And then when he gave Dina Dayadri Gayatri mantra at that moment, I think. But anyhow, yeah, I think he did without a sacred fire. But anyhow, I could be wrong. But the thing is, what he said was to her, because he'd read the article about how she was praising Krishna consciousness to the sky. I forget exactly what she said, but you can look at it. It's on the database. And he said, George Harrison has given me 19,000s of dollars. He said his exact words. But this girl, Dina Dayadri Devidasi, has given me 19,000 millions of dollars by her article in the Washington Post. So that was the next step. And after that, then the sannyasis came out, and Prabhupada gave them sannyas. Well, these 4 sannyasis. Oh, I guess Prabhupada had just given them sannyas, because I wasn't at their sannyas ceremony. And so there we were, completely bewildered. We had 1 sannyasi. Now we had 4 more sannyasis, total of 5 in the movement. But here Prabhupada in the GBC document states the sannyasis will travel and find locations for temples and then work with the GBC to open them.
All right,
Yeah.
we're back on the task.
Let's get back on the task, okay?
Right.
You see, poor guy, this is what you get for asking me to read.
All right.
Okay, I offer my apologies to everyone.
Okay, so let's continue. Particulars of the governing body commission. You continue.
Okay,
Narayan.
particulars of the governing body commission. The purpose of the governing body commission is to act as an instrument for the execution of the will of His divine grace. And further, and may I say, the will, they use that to say for His last will and testament. They use that statement in His will, that's where the GBC was given authority, but that's not what he meant. He meant that the will, meaning to execute Prabhupada's desire for the execution of the intention or the will of His divine grace. And further, the GBC oversees all operations and management of ISKCON as it receives direction from Srila Prabhupada, and His divine grace has the final approval in all matters. His divine grace will select an initial 12 members of the GBC. In the succeeding years, the GBC will be elected by a vote of all temple presidents, who will vote for 8 from a ballot of all temple presidents, which may also include any secretary who is in charge of a temple. Those 8 with the greatest number of votes will be members for the next term of GBC. That means 3 years. Srila Prabhupada will choose to retain 4 commissioners, period. In the event of Srila Prabhupada's absence, the retiring members will decide which 4 will remain. I like to joke that somebody has to know where the erasers and the pencils and the Xerox machine is. You know, of course they didn't have a location, but somebody has to know what they were doing. So they had to have 4 to carry over, and the 8 new ones would come in to produce new energy and new intelligence to work on the old problems that the previous GBC had been pondering for their 3 years.
Yeah, right now we're still beating the dead horse. It's dead already.
Well, no, it's not dead. It's just sleeping.
The GBC. Right.
The commissioners will serve a period of 3 years, and they may be reelected at the end of that period, this period. So it could be longer than 3 years, as long as the temple presidents want them to be, not them. The chairman is elected by the GBC for each meeting. He has no veto power, but in the event of a vote tie, his vote will decide. The same will apply for votes cast by mail between regular meetings.
Wow, you can mail your vote. Jai.
Yeah. No, don't say that around anymore. Throughout the year, each of the commissioners will stay with His Divine Grace for 1 month at a time and keep the other commissioners informed of His Divine Grace's instructions.
Mm.
So you can see for over 3 years, each GBC commissioner would be able to stay for 3 times with Srila Prabhupada.
Yes. Jai.
6, the primary objective of the GBC is to organize the opening of new temples and to maintain the established temples.
Mm.
7. Now you might ask, how about the fact that devotees just went out and opened temples? That's fine, but sometimes they needed supervision, help, whatever, not money necessarily, but just know-how and how to do it, so they could,
Right.
the Hare Krishna explosion could continue to explode.
Right.
It already stopped exploding by 1970, but this could have jump-started it.
Mm.
Okay, advice will be given by the GBC in cases of real property purchase, which will be in the name of ISKCON Incorporated. Trucks or other vehicles will be purchased in the name of the local president,
Yes.
as long as they're not Ford trucks. The devotee in charge of the DC temple, where Dina Dadri gave her talk to the Washington Post, bought a Ford van for Sankirtan, and Prabhupada made him take it back and buy a Dodge van instead.
Mm.
Why?
He hated Fords. There's an old joke, about back from the old days, of this blind man who could identify any car that drove by. This is back when, cars were more rickety than they are today. And he would sit by the side of the road in Calcutta, I would imagine, and people would ask him, "Hey, this car is going by. What is it?" "Oh, that's a Rolls Royce." Another car. "Oh, what is that?" "Oh, that's a Mercedes." And he kept on naming cars. Then a junk wagon came by with pieces of iron salvage on it, rattling away and crashing. And he went by, and they asked him, "And what is that one?" He said, "Oh, that's a Ford." It could have been with the fact that Ford was a Nazi, basic Nazi, supporting Hitler. And
Yeah, but
of course,
Yeah, but
Go ahead.
Srila Prabhupada's disciple Ambarish was the scion of the Ford company.
not the scion. If he was the scion, he would have been in charge of the company. He was a descendant, and he definitely inherited money. But he was a grandson or great-grandson of Henry Ford, yes. But that didn't mean Ford was a good guy. That just meant that his son was paying for the sins of the great-grandfather.
Right. Yeah, that's another angle to look at. Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
we're at number
Yeah.
8 now.
Okay, number 8. Removal of a temple president by the GBC requires support by the local temple members.
Hmm.
That should be in red in capital letters. The GBC does not have the authority to change the temple president.
Yeah. Yes.
But if there's a problem with the temple president, if he's not following the 4 regs, or if he's doing illegal stuff, or he's cheating in one way or another, well, then with the support of the temple members, the GBC can take him out, replace him, remove him, I should say, not replace. And presumably, I don't know how the temple presidents would be replaced, but can you imagine if the temple president that was to be replaced happened to be a GBC that year? You'd have quite a problem, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Presumably not, right? So number 9, The GBC has no jurisdiction in the publication of manuscripts, which will be handled by a separate committee, profits to be returned to Srila Prabhupada.
Wow.
This is a thing that became a sore point. Roughly at the same time as the direction of management, Prabhupada created the GBC, the BBT charter. And in that, he made it very clear that ISKCON was to have no control, the GBC and ISKCON would have no control over the publication of Prabhupada's books.
Right.
This later on became probably the strongest stimulus for why the GBC wanted lifetime appointment. Because if we're running the movement, we should have lifetime appointments instead of being elected every 3 years, which of course would have expanded the movement to the ceiling. And these BBT trustees, most of whom we don't even like that much, they have a lifetime appointment. No, no, no. So as quickly as they could, they destroyed the BBT and made BBTI under ISKCON, under the GBC.
ISKCON of West Bengal.
Yeah, well, that's what it became after Prabhupada was gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So far, my books are concerned. We're at
Oh, yeah. So far, my books are concerned, I'm setting up a different body of management, also known as the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. The trustees of this body are also members of the GBC, but their function is not dependent on the GBC, meaning they are independent of the GBC.
So the trustees
Right.
of this body are also members of the GBC. So, okay, Wali Mardan.
Well, it doesn't matter. It
Yeah.
said, like, because they have autonomy, they may be members of the GBC, but remember the GBC votes.
Yes,
They
can
do
vote
not
them out.
create. They
Yeah.
don't create their own laws.
Right.
So if the fellow has got a lifetime membership as a BBT trustee, which looks a little odd because if you're going to elect them every 3 years, how do you make sure that the BBT trustees are still there? Except that amongst the BBT trustees, the most they ever had, I think, was 3 or possibly 4 trustees.
Yes. There was.
And they had 2 that fell down.
Yeah.
One was Bali Mardan and somebody else.
Karandara was a BBT trustee too, I think.
Yeah, maybe, and he fell down. And then they had Hansaduda and Bhagavan, who stayed.
Yes.
And then I think Rameshwar became one at some point.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. ISKCON Press was created for the exclusive publication of my books and literatures and should be continued in that way. During my absence, no one shall live in my apartment. And that's what Tamal did the minute that Prabhupada was poisoned and passed on. Tamal wanted to create those 2 towers at Juhu, or the hotel. Tamal wanted a apartment on the very top for himself, Prabhupada's apartment on the top of the Juhu temple, and he wanted a private circular staircase going around the temple so that he could walk up it to get to his apartment, to Prabhupada's apartment. Nobody should live in my apartment. ACB. AC, okay. So that is that.
Haribol.
Why don't we move on to is there any discussion of that? Is anything not known? Is there anything in this that needs to be resolved in the minds of anyone in this Sagosti?
Let's see. Anyone have any questions? Prabhu's? Mahaprabhu, Rupa Manjari, and Andrew Ananda Prabhu. Okay. Looks like.
Okay, why don't we quickly run through the 1974 letter, if we can.
Yes, that's the topmost urgency. Let's see.
Well, that's in the original document.
Yeah. This one, okay.
Okay. So do you want to read it, or should Rupa Majori read it?
I don't want to read it.
Somebody else will read it, or somebody else should read it?
Rupa Majori
I'll
Prabhu
read
wants
it.
to read?
I'll
Yeah,
read
go
it.
ahead. Okay.
Okay. Amendments to be immediately added to all official registration documents, constitutions, and corporation papers, etc. Number 1, it is declared that His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is the founder Acharya of ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He is the supreme authority in all matters of the society. His position cannot be occupied by anyone else, and his name and title must appear on all documents, letterheads, publications, and buildings of the society. In particular, it shall be clearly understood that no real estate may be purchased or sold by any officer of the society without the express permission of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON.
Could you pause for just one moment?
Yes.
I would like to mention that this letter is tricky. It's a tricky letter that Prabhupada created as a tricky letter with witnesses, because everybody followed that first one, particularly the part about the letterheads, publications, and buildings. You know, they may not have had everything up, all the ducks in a row. His name and title must appear. So they put his name and title on everything because they hadn't before, you know. So when they did that, it proves one thing clearly: they had read the letter. Next, number 2.
Number 2, there shall be a governing board committee of trustees appointed by the founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, according to the document Direction and Management, dated July 28, 1970. The GBC is to act as the instrument for the execution of the will of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Dated at New York, July 22nd, 1974.
Oh, there were only 2 points in that letter. I thought there was 3 or 4.
No, there's only 2.
Okay, so you can see he put that in
Yes.
for the very specific purpose of being sure that everybody read it. And everybody, at least all the temple presidents, did read it, because they did all the other changes in item number 1. Wouldn't you say that was a pretty clever, sneaky thing to do? And it has historical legs. It means that in the future, no one could argue that as of 1974, that he had changed his mind, even though no election had ever taken place in 1973.
Yes, yes. You can see here, even though the elections were not conducted in 1973, in 1974, July 22nd, 1974, Srila Prabhupada immediately wanted that thing, July 28, 1970, direction of management to be implemented and filed with all the temples. So that's a very wonderful point.
So Bhakti Vikash Prabhu, we need to create a document in which we close in on each one of these points so brutally, so firmly, so unequivocally, that nobody will be honest man, and Bhakti Vikash is largely an honest man. Nobody who is an honest man will be able to read what we say and not say, this is what must be done.
Right. Okay, this is July 9th.
Now, what's this?
This is July 9th. Let's not discuss this one.
No, that's another can of worms.
Yeah.
11 worms to be specific.
Yeah, right. 12 worms, 9 worms. Okay, wow. So we got through the document, Jai. I think it's pretty clear what Srila Prabhupada wanted from the document and reading and the direction of management and topmost urgency. Any sane person who follows who's following Srila Prabhupada can understand how important the direction of management, the topmost urgency instructions of Srila Prabhupada are. And without that, the Krishna consciousness movement cannot progress, because it's a direct disobedience to Srila Prabhupada, directly disobedient. And
Yes.
somehow or other, we have come to a point where things have come to a halt. I mean, no new temples have been opened. It's everything is a mess, and
Well, the police would call this a cold case,
hmm,
but we're opening a cold case with new evidence.
right, right,
So
yes,
when it comes to the question of the direction of management, we have to, and also the style of kirtan, style of dancing,
yes,
style of mridanga, style and melodies.
yes,
We have to make it clear that anyone who does not accept the way the spiritual master
hmm,
teaches cannot be called a disciple.
right,
You can take initiation and open a butcher shop. Fine, that doesn't make it a bona fide butcher shop. You can even call it ISKCON bona fide butcher shop, but it doesn't make it bona fide.
hmm,
So that's what they've done. The fact that Prabhupada didn't smash them means that he wasn't a Catholic priest or a nun taking a ruler and smacking the wrist of somebody who said something that the nun thought was blasphemous. So, but he left it all out on the table for us. It doesn't matter. We can grieve or not grieve that we missed out on being there. But the main thing is we're here now. What will be a greater pain for us will be if we are not able to be present now. You see, Krishna consciousness is transcendental. We are pure spirit soul. We are eternal. You're eternal, I'm eternal. Rupa Manjari is eternal. We are all eternal, and in Istagosi, we, with some difficulty, try to speak as though we're eternal while we speak to one another and as we speak about anything at all. So when we have that standard of being eternal, then we can start to rectify, because this direction of management is also, well, it's not eternal, but it's eternal in the sense that everything the Acharya produces is eternal, but it's meant to last till the end of the 10,000 years from the time of Lord Chaitanya. That's what it's meant to do.
yes,
And anybody who says that, they changed it. I said, excuse me, sir, come back to the meeting when you're no longer interested in speaking from body consciousness. When you say, "Oh, he changed his mind," he did that. That's your argument based on something other than the direct order of the spiritual master.
I have a question once you're done.
Go for it.
So I mean, you've been speaking on the direction of management for, I guess, years, for 20, 30 years. Now, you must have had a lot of conversations with leaders, gurus, initiators, whatever you want to call them, GBC men. So, I mean, it's very clear in 1974, the topmost urgency, Srila Prabhupada wanted that implemented. So what reason do they give? Oh, because Prabhupada never, I mean.
Well, why did you ask Rupa? Why not ask Rupa Manjari? Because she was deeply involved in broadcasting, and she created the website
Okay.
for the.
Yeah, so Rupa Manjari Prabhu, did you talk to all, these so-called, Ritviks, present-day ISKCON Diksha gurus about, hey, what's going on here with the direction of management? Why isn't the management applying these principles or these legal?
The answer that I would always get is Prabhupada didn't enforce it because he didn't want it. And since it wasn't enforced, and they did things differently, that's just the way they should be from now on.
Acha. So it's just
they rely a lot on the July 18th or whatever it is letter, July 10th letter, not letter, room conversation, where it almost sounds as though Prabhupada is approving them to do that. But the actual fact is, it's a recording. It has no legal basis at all. And when I was brought into Rupa Manjari, how many hours was that deposition?
a couple of days.
Like 7 hours.
7-hour deposition with 3 attorneys, including Gupta, who was working for them, and the attorney from the Long Island case They did not bring up that anything on tape.
What?
They didn't bring up any recordings on tape because they suspected I knew, which I did know, but even if I didn't know, they could never use it in a court of law because it was not done with the direct verbal authorization and with the when they gave me the deposition, they had a cinematographer recording everything I did. They had a court reporter writing everything down, which she did a very bad job of because she didn't understand all the Sanskrit words. You know, the sort they use to use a special shorthand on the machine, like a ticker tape machine. And then they had another lawyer sitting, two lawyers in the room, all for the purpose of verifying my conversation that was being recorded. They assumed they were going to be able to destroy me in my tracks on the direction of management. And quite the opposite, I basically brought them to a halt. I won't say I destroyed them because they weren't destroyed. They didn't want to be destroyed. I just put them in a position where they couldn't use the tape in their case.
Okay, so what is this case that you're talking about? That they're
The Long Island case.
But what it has to do with you? You're no GBC. You're not. I mean, you're not a member of the party.
There's two parts to it. I think they wanted to prove that I and Rupa Manjari unfortunately was not invited to the deposition, but they wanted to prove that I was wrong about the direction of management. Because I was the guy that dragged it out of the database in 1992 or 3 or 4 or something like that, and was pouncing on it and broadcasting it wherever I could ever since. And then when Rupa Manjari got involved in around 2006, 2007, she and I worked in there, and then they produced that paper, which was in 2012. But we had a whole website that had all sorts of data on it, supporting the direction of management. It was pretty darn uncontrovertible.
So,
okay, that's one thing. The other thing is that I had been at some point appointed by Nimai Pandit to be on the board of directors of the Long Island Temple. On the basis of that, Prabhupada had put up a motion and had me excommunicated from ISKCON and even had my spiritual name revoked.
So Prabhupada, who the hell is he? Is he a GBC or some kind of dictator?
Yeah, both.
Okay. Wow.
He was getting revenge on me for what my daughter Shakuntala and my son Kuvalesha did to him at New Vrindavan, when there was a big mela there about the Gurukula case. And he came in to do his usual palavery bullshit to the group of people, and they started nailing him. He nailed him so hard that he got up and walked off in a huff. And Shakuntala and Kuva grabbed him and dragged him back in, forced him to sit down and said, "You're going to answer the questions."
Oh my, they did all this, huh? They put hands on him.
Yeah, definitely they did. And and so his revenge was having me kicked out of ISKCON. And the guy who was in charge of Govinda's restaurant in Los Angeles said, "Do you realize that they banned you from ISKCON?" I said, "They're too late. I banned them first." I already banned them. I already excommunicated. I said I already excommunicated them first.
So you're the enemy of everyone.
Yep. No, I just tell the truth, which is not popular in anywhere in the world.
Just like you're an enemy, I'm also an enemy now. Everyone is an
We're all enemies.
Public enemy number one.
Yeah, I mean, the local people, they hate me.
Yes. But interestingly, with Rupa Manjari getting involved, actually our activities became more and more popular, not amongst them, but amongst the devotees at large. We had very nice programs and ritvik programs at our temple in Jefferson Boulevard, etc. So we actually became sort of popular, and Rupa Manjari became sort of the darling of the unallianced female devotees at the temple. They all adored her.
Jai.
Oh, I'm not. I'm on.
Hare
Hold on a
Bo.
second.
Happy Halloween.
Is Rupa Manjari still there?
I think so.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. I hope you don't mind my saying nice things about you.
Yeah,
So-
amazing. So yeah, we
so
have
anyhow-
covered we've covered so much. I mean, anyone hearing these conversations, they should be able to understand how important these documents are, especially signed legal documents with witnesses on legal paper, and Prabhupada giving direct orders
Yeah.
for it to be
Good.
implemented.
Can I say two small things?
Yes.
One
yes.
thing is the Prabhupada said, you must be very careful of what you write.
Hmm.
He said that long before all of this. You have to be very careful of what you write. But then he laughed, his anti-acharya laugh sort of thing. He said, well, when you speak, you can say any damn thing. He said, you can say any damn thing. And the second thing I want to mention is the Bhadru Narayan. We went over all the transcripts that we got from Nimai Pandit, who is one of the mainstays of the Long Island Temple, and Bhadru Narayan testified in the court and authenticated the GBC based on the direction of management.
That's totally bogus. They were not elected, so how can they
Now,
authenticate?
I don't understand why they didn't use that. I tried to get involved, but Nimai Pandit was handling the whole thing and didn't want me involved. And the lawyer, I don't know why they didn't do that. I
Didn't do
honestly
what?
don't. Take the fact that he said direction of management. Okay, so where is your foundational document of direction of management?
Ah,
Oh, here
oh,
it
that
is.
one.
Yeah. So
Oh.
you can now look at it. You can look at the direction of management, and you'll see you're supposed to be elected every 4 years. He said, were you? No. Were we supposed to be? Were you supposed to be? Well, Prabhupada changed his mind. Okay, I get it. He changed his mind. Now show me the document where he changed his mind. If he made a document signed by so many people, where did he change his mind?
And yeah, and had it signed by X amount of people, right?
Yeah. When was your last election? And you know why I know that Noctic should have worked? Was because when somebody came in and claimed to be an authority, the temple authority for the Long Island Temple, the defense said, okay, what was the last time you had meetings of the boards of directors?
Who was asking this?
The Long Island attorney working with Nimai Pandit. What was the last board of director meeting you had?
Well,
We didn't have them very often. Okay, what was the last time you had it? They went back 10 years. And the judge said, you didn't follow your own rules. So how can I accept that you were the temple president?
mm-hmm.
So that should have been enough argument to say, how can you say you're GBC if you don't follow your own rules? I'm not an attorney, but I'm not stupid. Or actually, I'm not. I am stupid, but I'm not that. Anyhow, put it this way: whether I'm stupid or not, it would have been the right thing to do.
Yeah, that's it's very clear that these people are all playing games. The GBC initiators, and I guess at one time there was a lot of momentum to change things, but things changed. I guess from our
Change
side.
things. What are you talking? Who wants to change what?
No, I'm saying that at that time there was a lot of direction of management discussions and how to. I mean, the lawyers grilled you. Badri Narayan lied in court. All these people that were involved, they were.
Well, why not ask Rupa Manjari how many people were all up in arms about the direction of management?
Yes, Prabhu, Rupa Manjari, Prabhu, any statements regarding that point? a lot of people.
Can you say it one more time?
How many people were for the direction of management? That, I mean, you're living right
None
there.
of them. None of them.
Oh, none of them.
And most of the ISKCON devotees were kind of indifferent. Like they didn't seem to
Didn't care.
care.
Ah,
Like
Yeah.
and so it was frustrating for me because I would, I'd be trying to create change,
hmm.
and it's like they didn't care about it.
Acha.
No, Rupa Manjari Prabhu, let me see, I had a question for you about that. Oh yes. What about people like Paranjan and Yasoda? Why didn't they push for the direction of management?
I don't know.
I think you have answered that
You
question.
don't know, but I thought you knew. They were against the direction of management. They were against ISKCON. They wanted to close all the ISKCON temples. They said that the deities were no longer Krishna, they were just Marvel, and that the temples were just empty spaces. They should be closed and everyone should leave. Paranjan even went to the extreme of trying to get the CID, the Secret Service of India, to close all the Indian temples.
Hmm.
So they wanted to close the temples and replace it with the Hare Krishna Society.
I mean, I mean, wow, crazy. You can't.
Yeah. So our deadliest enemies were the Ritviks, who are all followers of Yasoda and Paranjan. They were more against us than anybody else was.
Wow. Yeah, that is very interesting.
Rupa Manjari, don't you remember any of that at all?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
So can you elaborate a
That's
little
super
bit?
ironic.
Can you expand on it a bit?
I think it's pretty clear. I don't think she needs
No,
to.
let her speak.
Okay, go ahead.
I think you covered it. I mean, that's the point.
Well, add what you can remember now that I've covered it. Add something that you can remember.
Well,
Otherwise,
the
it's
thing
just me.
is, Yashoda and Paranjan never actually said to me, "We do not want the direction of management." They never said that. It was more just that they didn't join what we were doing, and they didn't, have an interest in what I was saying or what you were saying.
Okay, so
Right.
I mean, in defense of Yashoda, when I asked him about the direction of management, he sent me documents. So maybe he is for it, but it's just that he doesn't want, he doesn't
No,
like.
I assure you,
Uh.
I had so many conversations with them,
Oh, okay.
and they were not for it because they didn't want to reform ISKCON. You see, let me just say one thing clearly. Yasoda and Paranjan were anti-bogus guru. If you read anything they've written, and when I was in Houston, Paranjan, I became friends with Paranjan, and he said that actually Yasoda wrote everything that he publishes, and that he only pretended to write it. He said he sometimes didn't even read it. He just published it without reading it. So it was all Yasoda was the brains behind Paranjan. Paranjan was the bad cop and Yasoda was the good cop. Now, Rupa Manjari, can you explain what happened when we tried to get the direction of management groups to using the money that Haladar was going to give us? Can you tell the group about that? Just to go see about that.
I don't remember.
You don't remember? You don't remember that Haladar's wife was going to give us $1.1 million?
Mm-hmm. Wow, I don't remember.
Was it 1.1 million or was it 110 million? I forget. Not 110 million, but I mean 110,000. They were going to give us a big chunk of money. Don't you remember, Rupa?
Not really, no.
Okay. Anyways, I think.
But anyhow, what Yasoda and Paranjan went to Haladar and his wife. They flew there to India and convinced them that I was a person of that Rupa Manjari and I were people of very bad character, and that they shouldn't give us any money, that we would simply steal it. That's what they said. So they didn't give us the money.
No one got the money. I said.
And then they wanted to get the money for themselves. It was black money, from Indian deals, and they couldn't use it themselves. So they wanted to give it away in a way that would be beneficial. And Holodomor thought that I had this idea for the direction of management that would be beneficial. He was very much into it. So what happened is that I was getting ready to do that. Somehow Yasoda and Paranjan found out that that's what I wanted to use it for. They didn't want the money used to institute the direction of management. They didn't. I was going to go to all the Indian communities that support ISKCON temples in the United States or even in the world. Go to each and every temple, show a PowerPoint presentations, and go over how they were all being screwed. They were giving money and they were not given representation.
I mean,
And when that came up,
they probably would have killed you. That's why Krishna didn't let you get the money. They probably would have killed you.
So who cares?
No, I mean, I think that's the reason.
How could they kill? Can you give me one means by which I could have been killed?
I mean, of course, they kill you. They kill you. You wouldn't be here right now talking to us.
You don't know that. I could be here as a ghost. But the thing is,
They would have poisoned me.
maybe I am here as a ghost. But the point is, nobody can kill me. No one can kill me.
I mean, this is just a speculation. That's why no one got the money. I mean, Yashoda didn't get the money. You didn't get the money.
ISKCON didn't get the GBC.
Yeah.
And ISKCON didn't get got bogus gurus.
Yeah.
I mean, and ISKCON got poisoned Prabhupada. So, I mean, what are you saying? I mean,
now's the time. So the good part is right now. You didn't get it. The good part is you didn't get it. That's the good part.
If I had done that, the GBC would be screwed by now.
Well, it's still screwed right now.
No, by now they would have been screwed. But anyhow, they stopped it. So it's just another thing. What would have happened if Prabhupada had lived the 10 more years that his astrologer said he could have lived?
Yeah, a lot more would have
You know about that, right?
Yeah.
Why people don't think he was poisoned, I don't know. When his astrologer said you will live up to be 10 more years if your followers don't do you in. It'd be nice to
that's
find
the
that
thing.
quote.
They would have done you in.
Better me than Prabhupada.
Right, they would have done you in.
Well, if I could trade my being done in for Prabhupada being done in, guess which I would choose right now at any moment.
Jai,
I don't need to stay in this body.
you have a new body waiting.
No, everyone does.
All right. Jai.
So if you see a GBC and you see this rough and tough looking dog come up and piss on his toady, you'll know it's me.
I've thought about that too myself. I was thinking, what you said before about like if I would take a bullet for my spiritual master.
Yes.
And then I thought about it. I was like, yeah, immediately. If I saw somebody, I imagine somebody come in with a gun or something, I would immediately like jump in the way.
Hi.
When I heard Tamal and Prashama Sundar saying that Prabhupada was senile, I should have killed both of them. But I couldn't kill Tamal because he was my Varna Padarsha Guru. I couldn't do it. This is a very strange event. If I'd killed him, the movement would probably have gone on, and I would get to be the martyr on the Rath Yatra car instead of Jayananda. My picture on the Rath Yatra car. But anyhow, just going there. So anyhow, so does that okay? So far, so good?
Yeah, we have had wonderful. We completed the document, and I think anyone who hears it, the whole thing, they'll be convinced that the direction of management needs to be implemented immediately, and everyone needs to know about it. So it's their responsibility after hearing from what we have discussed to understand it, ask questions, come on Ishtagoshti, and then
Yeah, and it was the Ishtagoshti being elected, or the GBC being elected, the Kanista initiators that they call gurus, in this context, gurus, initiators, they would have no way to be appointed.
Right.
And the
right.
elected GBC is not going to appoint gurus.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have to be like the cardinals of the Catholic Church
Yeah.
to appoint a pope.
But they can certainly be Ritviks. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the next thing, is they say, okay, you can initiate, but initiate for Prabhupada. Sit down and perform the fire sacrifice and be a Ritvik. If you don't perform the fire sacrifice, then the guy that does the temple commander could be the Ritvik.
Yes.
Yeah.
And go on with
Huh?
and they can continue whatever they're doing. Like, for example, Bhakti Vikas says, I'm a Ritvik, and he's doing some kind of, and they become,
Yeah. Yeah.
biggest
Because
one. Yes.
but Bhakti Vikas on that recording that you sent me was saying, oh yeah, there'll be so many gurus, there'll be so many things, He's lost in the woods, He's
Yeah,
supposed to be a guru. He's lost in the woods. But maybe if he wakes up to the reality, and we are the caretakers of the Ark of the Holy Covenant, if you want to call it that, of the reality, we have that precious readers of the Lost Ark duty to have the Lost Ark. What is the Lost Ark? For us, it is the direction of management, and it is the process of going from Kanista, which is fine. You can go on, we'll have Kanista Adhikari temples until the end of 10,000 years from Lord Chaitanya. But in those, people will be distilled up to the Madhyam Adhikari platform, and from there to the Uttama Adhikari platform. So that means that without needing to initiate anybody, there'll be pure devotees going here, there, and everywhere, Parvajakacharya, going here, there, and everywhere, glorifying Krishna and inducing even the plants and the animals to chant the way Lord Chaitanya did.
Right.
And that will be the least we can do.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mahaprabhu. Jai. All right.
So, and so Ramachandra, when we get up the line, could you show me how to get one of those pictures behind me? I'm sick and tired of seeing my bedroom wall.
Yeah. Yes, we will figure that out, Prabhu. Okay. Andrew Ananda Prabhu, you have anything to say? You've been listening very quietly. You haven't said anything. So now's your chance before we sign out. What do you think, Andrew Ananda Prabhu, of the discussions that we're having?
Are you still there?
They're informative. They're filling in blanks. I hear like a lot of stories from different, sources who are like people, I guess, devotees who are disciples of Prabhupada in similar situations where they had to.
You will not find a systematic presentation than what we have covered. They cannot give you all this. We're discussing this here. I mean, you ask them anything about direction of management, they say, yeah, it's something that Prabhupada wanted, and that's it. And that's all they know. I mean, have you had a systematic presentation like we have discussed here? I mean, aren't you convinced that this is something, if it's implemented immediately, things can change? The voting and the GBC and the power to the community and the temple presidents. Right now, the temple presidents have no power. It's all done from the GBC level.
Why do you ask?
No, I'm asking you.
Do
you think it's important?
Have you heard a stronger argument in favor of continuing the movement than you have heard tonight?
Yeah.
Continuing the movement?
Yes.
This movement?
Bring that back.
Or the whole movement?
Yeah, the whole movement. of course, the Prabhupada's original movement with the direction of management being implemented, topmost urgency. Yes, Narayana Prabhu.
Remember, this isn't a temple room. This is not a chat place. This is not a coffee shop where we're all sitting around talking. This is an istagosti. And istagosti, the sound vibrations that are uttered from the mouths of those who participate in istagosti vibrate into the spiritual sky. So that's what we're inviting you to do too, Prabhu Ananda Prabhu.
Yeah, you can say anything you like, Prabhu, or you have a doubt regarding the direction of management or anything else, you can speak. I mean,
No, I mostly just been listening and
thinking.
Are you
filling in the
100%?
blanks.
Are you
My
100%
point,
convinced?
I guess now I'm remembering my point was more so that hearing different stories and different timelines, it's nice to get more
What are you hearing?
histories.
Yeah,
Just
what are you
when
hearing?
devotees give their own accounts
Okay.
of things, they're just
So-
like,
Well,
kind of-
that sounds like chit chat to me.
it sounds like, well,
Right.
like I'm
Chit-chat.
thinking that
Gossip.
there's
Different opinions.
each of
We don't, in
Prabhupada's
Istagosti,
disciples,
we don't have opinions.
each of
All we have
Prabhupada's
is realizations.
oh gosh,
Okay,
So
go ahead.
speak from
Can I
the
speak?
heart. Prabhu,
can I speak?
don't Roosevelt. Speak from the heart.
No, Prabhu, let him
Whatever
speak.
you know, speak from the heart, not from relativities, okay?
I think what I
Speak
was trying to
clearly.
say is that
Yes,
each of
he's saying.
Prabhupada's disciples
Yes.
is like a chapter in his book. And it's
Okay.
interesting to hear their stories.
All right.
Christ.
But we're not here for stories. We're here to produce results. Are you on board with us?
Commenting. I'm just commenting. You're being very
don't need to
judgmental
comment.
of me. You're
I'm
telling me
not
that
being
I'm not
judgmental.
speaking
I
from
want
my
to know
heart,
what you're prepared
and
to
that is
do.
producing righteous anger in me.
Okay, become righteously angry then. That will be better than relativism, relative talking.
I think Narayan Prabhu is saying that what we hear from the Prabhupada disciples are mostly hearsay. I think maybe this should be done. We're saying actually it should be done immediately, right now. That's what we're saying.
Do you agree with that yourself?
Yes, I agree with it.
I hope you now are encased in righteous anger and you can speak strongly as a spirit soul, jiva, from the heart. Yes. Now let us hear your righteous anger and put it out and we'll welcome it. Okay?
Yeah. I don't think this is a legal document written by Prabhupada and 12 people, and then Prabhupada stating that in 1974 it should be done. So what more do you need? I mean, we can hear stories from different people, but that doesn't change the fact that Srila Prabhupada wanted this done immediately. 1970, 1973, then 1974. So and then Narayan Prabhu going with the lawyers, drilling him for 7 hours. So obviously,
I mean, even if I was somebody who is watching, like, just kind of trying to observe what you're talking about, you shouldn't, like, should I be watching from YouTube or something? Like,
oh yeah, YouTube or
why are you asking me this?
I'm asking you your opinion. You've been hearing. So
I don't mean you. I just meant like the way that Narayan was approaching me. I didn't understand why he was so aggressive. And so
I'm aggressive because we need to take action, and action by its very nature is aggressive. I'm not aggressive against you.
To be
I'm
emotionally correct to reach the people.
Prabhu, I'm asking you to be aggressive.
It's more important for us to be emotionally correct with people in their hearts, that they're able to be reached, not that they're being drilled.
What is it you want to accomplish with your heart? What do you want to accomplish with any of our hearts? What would you want to accomplish like that?
Okay,
that is where prema lives.
I'm gonna sign off now.
All right. Okay.
Oh, why don't you finish up there?
I almost signed off myself.
Okay.
Okay. So the one thing which I would like to say is that whatever we accomplish, we should prepare it in such a way that a top constitutional lawyer could read it and say, after reading it, you win, they lose.
All right. Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yes.
You win, they lose, because the facts are strongly in the favor. Did Ananda?
Yes,
click off?
they're still here. Let's end it. I think devotees want to end. And
Is he still on? Is he still on?
Yes, yes, that's a very good point that you've made. To present the case so nicely that it's like without any doubt that anyone can, sane person can see, okay, yeah, this is what it is, as it is. Okay. All right, then I'll end it here then. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Glory to
Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, I'll go.